Did the planning committee ever finalize their recommended?
They did. That's what I'm not sure about. It's on the table.
I didn't see it. I didn't. Oh, I didn't see it.
No, they did do the final revision. It's pretty minor.
Oops.
That's true.
All right, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Gottschall. I am the Lower Paxton Township Manager, and in typical fashion, I'm going to give a brief summary of this evening's agenda, particularly for the benefit of those who may be watching at home on television. This evening is a workshop session of the board. The board has a number of items on the agenda, and one action item to include a presentation on Pennsylvania's Local Government Week. We have a number of our department heads here with us this evening to present to the board and to the public the good news of local government here in Pennsylvania. Following that, the board will hear an introduction of Jared Ross, the township's newest police bureau mental health co-responder. And then following that, finally, the board will take action on the application for payment number 7, this pertaining to the Brightville Park Playground project. And then finally, the board will hear any last announcements, and then finally taking a motion to adjourn. With all that said, members of the board are seated and prepared to conduct business. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Thompson. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We now have public comment. We ask that if there is something on the agenda that you want to speak on, that you would hold that till that agenda item. And if not, is there anybody here tonight that wants to speak under public comment? Okay, if you could come up to the podium, please, and give your, and give your name and address.
Anita Ash, 6632 Jordan.
Can you, I don't think there you go.
Anita Ash,
Thank you.
6632 Jordan Drive.
And I'm again Alicia Allen, and I live at 2416 Clayton Avenue in Susquehanna Township, and I'm back again with
Regarding Hodges Heights.
regarding Hodges Heights. So just following up, we weren't here last week, and just wanted to follow up to see was there any additional questions or comments to add in regards to the 3 subjects that were brought up a few weeks back, and that was on the park itself, the Hodges Heights Park, as far as enclosing it because of the composting, having access to the park, and there's no fence on the one side, paving the roads, and then the third thing was the putting out the sign. So I understand there was, the question was there a sign or anything resurrected or constructed in the past? And the Historical Society did have something, but it was too long. So they wanted, I guess, something smaller. So I just wanted to follow up to see, was there anything else that the township would need from Hodges Heights? Mr. Victor Banks is in Philadelphia. He wasn't able to get back in time, and we didn't know. We saw what you had on the agenda for the new business, but we just didn't want you to think we didn't want to follow up from there.
Okay, as far as the paving on Jordan Drive, Mr. Gutschall, I had asked you to get back to her. Did you do that?
You know, was anybody in contact with you, ma'am, from our Public Works Department? Okay. I thought we were going to do that, but yeah, we'll have to get you a written response on that. I think our Public Works Department had been working I don't know if it was explained last week or not, ma'am, or last meeting that this was discussed. The township uses a rather, I'd say, scientific approach to determining what our paving schedule will look like for a number of years. We travel each and every section of our road infrastructure with technology mounted to vehicles that assesses the relative condition of our road system, and then puts all that data into one dashboard to allow us to better identify how we're going to deploy paving resources based on the condition of that network, network-wide. And so we can easily pull up any street or section of streets to determine, kind of what the analytical condition of the roadway is, and then, help us better determine how we're going to, put that paving into our budget over a several year period of time. So
So specifically for Jordan Drive, where my parents lived from 1955 on.
Yes.
And where my sister-in-law and brother-in-law still live at 6632. You could tell us, as an idea, to give the neighborhood an idea from, when my grandfather started in 1945 to now, where are we on that list, is what you're saying?
Because it hasn't
Yes.
been paid. not
We've
taxed
asked at least 3 times. I know the question was, have we asked before?
over 70
Yeah.
years.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, so we can do that, and like I said, it's analytical. It's not, and a lot of that has to do as well with whether or not there are other utility projects going on. I think Mrs. Lindsay may have explained that last time. If we have a sewer project going
Which
on,
we weren't aware of.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
we weren't
yes, so
aware.
we can answer that question. I don't have the answer right now, so that's why I say we'll have to get back to you. Our Public Works Department will be able to do that.
Well, that's why I'm in the middle of another meeting, but I wanted to make sure we came back because we have not heard anything back.
from you all.
So before you leave, could you just give Ms. Shelley some type of a contact information, whether it be a phone number or an email? So as soon as Mr. Gutschall and our Public Works Director get that together, and then we could get in touch with you and let you know where your road is on the list of roads for the township to be
Conway and Jordan
repaved.
Drive.
And
Yes.
Brad, just to explain, when you say analytical, you're talking about the software what they drive around and it scans the roadway and it looks for certain things. Just to expound on what you mean by analytical, this isn't necessarily staffers hunched over tables and this and that we drive all the roads, it scans them for flaws and defects, and it's supposed to be able to quantify when does this road need to be replaced, repaired.
So if they've tore half the road up and just paid, or just
patched it.
patched up half, and then they say, well, maybe next year.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 times over asked, and then it's still that same patch now, 25 years later, we're just trying to find out
No,
when will
actually
it go
longer than
past.
that.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I did ride out there, and I think you did have some crack sealing done, where they filled in some areas.
Filled in a lot of patches. in the
Right,
area.
right, and that does last, believe it or not, that does last a long time, the
It
crack
doesn't
sealing.
look, it doesn't
Doesn't
look
look
good. and
pretty.
We have that,
Yeah.
we've had I live in the Paxtonia area, and there's a few streets in there that are just patched up, and people say, this is, I want it to be repaved, and I remember I had the Public Works Director go out there, it's fundamentally sound. It just doesn't look great.
Well, Locust Lane was that way. I mean, it was very, very bumpy,
Yeah, that's
and it's
a s-
been
yeah.
paved over a couple of times,
Yeah.
so we,
Just like
you know.
Lighters
Yeah,
that
that's
was
a
very-
state
Lighters
road.
Lane, I'm sorry. I
Just
said
like
Locust
Lighters
Lane.
Lane. Lighters Lane.
Yeah, Lighters Lane,
But
yeah.
just so there's, when they say analytical, like, we try not to leave it up to guts and hunches and who makes the most noise or anything like that. We try to keep it as science-based as possible, but it's for patchwork and stuff like that. I know that's not always the best answer.
South Hawks Road, I don't know if,
And that.
We just
but
wanna have an
after all
answer.
those years,
Just
I
seeing
mean,
an
like I
answer.
said, from us paying taxes just like every place else, I
yeah,
mean,
it's very expensive
can't
to,
believe that it hasn't been done.
I
And
lived
over-
on my street for 40 years, and it was never taken care of.
So when you say you can't believe it, you mean that it should quantify as,
My parents been there.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
They-
that's just.
They built in
it just
1955.
seems
It just
unreal to
said
me.
by now, you could have gotten around through the whole township.
To
That's
doing
what
it.
we're saying.
Yeah, because we have, let me see, Tim, if I'm right, 216, 220, 226 miles of road? 215, okay, miles of road. And if you do remember, a couple years ago, South Hawks Road was crack sealed, and that lasted almost 10 years. You know, it wasn't pretty looking, but it did last, so. And then the other question was about Hodges Heights, about the sign?
Yeah, the park and fencing it in so that it's not exposed to that throughway.
compost.
We wanted to
Okay.
see if why the gate that's already set up at the lower end of Conway
they don't
Road,
go through there.
why they would not go through there versus cutting through the park.
Right.
Where the children are exposed.
And they drive
and
fast
drive
through there.
And I know, Mr. Gutschall, if I'm right, that they were looking into, you know, we've always used both entrances, but looking in to see and if there is an issue, you know, with the entrance coming, you know, past the park area. Has it been decided or has it been looked at if you're saying a fence, some type of a buffer?
Right, because the children, the pavilion, when I was there before, it used to be closer to Conway Road. It is now closer to the road
Right.
that you've made
Right.
for the
Well-
composting. That road and the access to the park was not always that way. It was, that was created. So that paved road and that addition was after the landfill was closed and composting opened. So that area has been changed.
Have
So-
we looked in, I mean, that was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago they were here. Have we looked into anything there? Are they checking out to see if both areas are going to be used? Are we going to go to one area? Are we going to do some type of a buffer?
Speed bump or rumble strip or something, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, relative to the use of specific entrances, it has been and it will remain staff's perspective that we use both entrances. I informed the board of our decision-making on that. However, with regard to the safety of the use of those, of that whole site, not only the park entrance, but both entrances, the Public Safety Department has on its list the traffic safety study along that corridor. We have an ongoing backlog of our traffic safety studies. They are very thorough, and we get many requests a year, a month for studies. So there is a constant backlog. So I'm not sure as to the completion date of that study particularly, but it will be soon. So hopefully some remediation efforts will come out as a result of that study on the axis of the site. Relative to the fencing, that request specifically is I think at this point in staff's mind, really, I hate to use the word tabled. That sounds not good, but
not good.
it's tabled to the degree that it really is a decision that has to be made in concert with the renovation of the park. You know, if depending on what we do with that park, will really allow us to answer the question as to where fencing would be installed and what kind of fencing or whatever, but really be more appropriate to determine that once we ascertain what we're going to do with the renovation of the park. in
Okay, well,
totality.
hopefully the traffic study will let us know, if there is speeding, if we can do something, because I think part of that study's on Conway, too. Yeah,
Correct,
Both
yes, correct.
entrances
Yeah.
and then
Coming
and then Conway.
So what would be the next steps for the neighborhood, because this has, come up more recent again because, with questions of the neighborhood and development, and you're showing people the area. So more questions have been coming up. So that's why we're bringing it up, and only because both my parents now are deceased. So they've both passed away. But my brother's still there, so we're looking for the sign, looking for the safety.
And
So
plus
just
the
an
safety
idea.
for the children.
Children.
And people that walk.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, you're saying that the speeding, is that happening? That's where you, because I've been there recently, when you come in through, when people are going to that back gate, and they
Yes.
kind of have to enter that park. It's kind of that road. It's not really a road. It's kind of part of the park, but
And going
They're
around
coming
that
straight up
curve.
Conway Road, up
Yeah, they're
that
just
long
flying.
hill, and that's a straight shot.
And that's a
Yeah, then-
blind.
and they're just kind of flying in there
Yes.
Yes.
to the
Right.
compost site.
And
Okay.
before, that opening was not right there.
Gotcha.
If I'm
And Director, is
forgetting.
that part of the study too? Okay, all right. So our Public Safety Director is sitting behind you. Okay, so he said that's also part of the study. Conway, both entrances, and then, of course, the entrance going around the park that goes into the back of the compost. So it does take a little while because we are backed up, but they are working on it. Okay. Was there any other,
Well, the sign, then, we go back to the historic sign to make a presentation to find out if we're just trying to put a sign up to say Hodges Heights, it was established in 1945, because articles have been written, things like that. A new article was written, not with all of my words in there, but, it's mentioning Hodges Heights. So we just wanted to put a sign out there so that it establishes Elmo Hodge Sr. was the one that was the founder of that, and we just want a sign. I guess
Okay.
others have presented signs that had a lot of stuff on there that our family was not aware of. So
okay, and that wasn't brought to our attention, Brad.
that was my meeting, the first time I
Yeah.
came, I did. That
Couple
was
weeks
the
ago.
one of the
Okay.
third three was a sign, and I just wanted to know, my brother wanted to know, can we just buy the sign and we have to put it up? Do we need to have something permit? Do we, what do we need? Because we found there was one that someone presented 2 years ago.
Brad, didn't we agree that our signage would be replaced in all the parks? They would all be the same?
Yeah, but I think they're talking about something different about a sign with some history on
We
it.
don't even have a sign that says Hodges Park, that Hodges Heights. That would be awesome just to start there. But if we do, there's nothing that says Hodges Heights at all. There's no
Yeah.
sign
I-
than what's on the landfill
Yeah, for that development.
for that development.
Yeah, I
There's
think-
no
Like
sign.
Kendall Oaks and
And
so on
Conway
and so forth.
Park. There's no sign that says Hodges Heights. Nothing.
I think, ma'am, that this specific board is not aware of that request. I don't, when you say you were here, I don't know,
I was here 3
not
weeks
to the
ago.
Board of Supervisors.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
they were
spoke to
discussing quite a few things, but,
Yeah, I think-
okay, I didn't remember,
3 things. Those were the 3.
I'm sorry, we didn't remember that one.
The sign,
So-
the park, and the paving of the roads were the 3
Yeah.
things.
So you want a sign that says Hodges Heights, but then I took it that you wanted something that had like the history of the park?
The history of, no, Hodges Heights, I'm saying, at first, we just at least wanted a sign that said Hodges Heights,
Okay.
like the other developments do have.
Right.
And then, if we could do a sign that actually said, founded by Elmo Hodge Sr. in 1945, that would be awesome. And my brother and
not
I are
do
saying, do we need to
signs?
pay for that? Or
Yeah. Do we not do signs is this a neighborhood park or?
When the township had engaged in the last park sign project, we decided not to move forward with a Hodges Heights sign because of the, I hate to say, I hate to keep using these words, but
Oh.
the moratorium, if you will, that had been placed on the Hodges Heights Park. That wasn't by the Board of Supervisors. The Parks and Rec Board, actually, a number of years ago, I believe in 2017, prior to my arrival, had decided to recommend to the board not to continue to fund improvements of the park due to its physical conditions, sub-base physical conditions. So, it had been for a number of years the, I'll say, position of the township to not fund additional improvements to the site. And so, putting a sign out and calling attention to the use of the park that we know is in physical disrepair was not a prudent decision at that point.
The whole idea is to
so-
get something better.
Yeah.
Because of the other park down at the end of Conway and Nye Road.
Which
Yes.
they said would just be for their neighborhood, not a community park. So,
Yeah, so I mean, if it's the desire of the board, you know, again, I would suggest that probably should wait until the park there is a plan in place to develop that park, whatever you're gonna do with it, whether it's, you know, kind of reclaiming the land and making it into passive, whatever the township decides to do with the park. You know, these sign discussions, the fencing discussions should really make more sense.
So
to
it's
occur
either
at
going to
that
have a
time.
real big redesign, or we're going to find something better, or if it's going to stay the way it is, then it should have a sign.
at least the
But-
development to say Hodges Heights would.
Well, what-
Yeah, but if we're going to do something better,
Then we would.
then maybe we hold off, but we can't stay in a gray area forever.
Well, what is the name of the
That's-
park?
that's for
at-
sure.
Because
at
my parents
Conway
are
and
now
Nyes
left
Road going
and
to be
gone,
called?
and they have not seen that fruition
Yeah.
of any of it. Yeah.
Like I said, for over 70 years, and that's.
Okay, so we don't, I just asked Mr. Gutschall, we don't know what the name of the park at Conway and Nyes Road is going to be called. You don't think that's going to be called the Hodges Heights Park?
Oh, no.
No, they already said that.
No,
At the last
they-
meeting.
Who's they?
Who's they? I never heard that.
Lady
The
that
young
made the
lady that
presentation-
made the
that made the
presentation.
presentation here. The
The
engineer that
engineers.
came.
Well,
that's-
the township at this point has called the project the Conway Tract Park as a project designation. There's been no
Yeah, there's
definitive
been no name
definition on.
designated,
Right.
yeah.
No,
She
I
was,
don't think
she
it
was
was-
a hired consultant.
Yeah,
Right.
she's a consultant for the parks that we've hired her.
But That's
Yeah,
what,
and
that's what
that's-
she said.
She
Wow.
called it the.
Yeah, the Conway track. It's because it's in the
Yeah.
development process, because of the
Doesn't have an
master
official
plan.
name
Doesn't
yet.
have an official
So
name.
I wouldn't put too
Yeah.
much on that.
what's
Yeah,
the
and there
park?
was nothing there about it being a neighborhood park. It was a.
Down
it
by
was
Kendall.
community.
Kendall. I thought it was Kendall Oaks was the one that was here 3 weeks ago. Kendall Oaks?
No,
No?
it wasn't
Oh.
Kendall
It was
Oaks.
Conway.
But it was going to be.
Yeah, it's at the corner of Conway and Nyes Road. Yeah, it
so
has
that's what
nothing
I-
to do with Kendall Oaks.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just that we own that land at Conway and Nyes and decided to put a park in there because of all the issues, up at Hodges Heights, so.
And that would be the question. If that's supposed to replace it, then would we be having a sidewalk to it? Would grandparents need to drive down to that park, which they said is really the neighborhood park, not a community park,
Yeah.
to actually utilize it? So. that
Well,
would
the
be
traffic study, the intense traffic study that's being done, that will tell us if it will need anything on Conway or not. Yeah.
And all this started, by the way, because I only joined the board in 2018, and it needs improvements, Parks needs improvements. We can't really build on it with the ground the way it is. So everything starts with that. Like, what are we going to do here? We do what we want to do. We can't build on it. So ever since then, it's been about, all right, then what else can we do to provide something for the community? Now, as far as naming and all that stuff, we haven't even gotten there yet. All we know is that what was there and what we were limited to was not anything that we liked.
But at least to say Hodges Heights would be a one start, but you're saying it's tied to this park. Everything's tied to
It's just, that's where we started with that ground, that surface problem. But we know that's not a permanent solution. It's not anything that we want, and everything's kind of grown from that. It's to finding alternatives, and just haven't gotten to naming yet. But we just want the community to have, and the kids to have
Park in that
something
area.
that's worthwhile, and you can build on. That's what we want.
So we just wait.
Wait and understand that it's been on our mind for a long time, and that there are certain steps that they're going to start. Traffic is one thing, and the actual facilities is a separate thing, but everything has a process, and we're not going to ignore it.
I mean, in the meantime, speaking of signs, there's nothing there that says watch for children or a speed limit or
Right.
anything like that?
No.
Can we get something out there that says watch for, at those entrance, I mean, at a minimum, we need to at least do that. I'll go put it out there. Seriously.
I
mean,
will
just,
save you
just, can we put a sign out there that says watch for children?
for children
and
or
then maybe,
pedestrians.
maybe something about, I don't know what the traffic, I know we can't do get the traffic study right away, but at least maybe we can get that put out there. I mean, I'll do it tomorrow, but I mean, we need to put something out there so that people don't come flying through there, or at least so our police officers can say, hey, there's a sign there. You came flying in here. I watched you do it, and and there's a sign up.
Yeah, I would caution against that, sir, only as it relates to doing it before the study. The study will also take into consideration an inventory of the signage that currently exists. Just kind of freewheeling the placement of road signs is not
Well, this is a watch,
particularly advisable.
but this isn't a road sign. This is a watch for children at a property that we own, that if some kid gets hit, that we're responsible for that. So, so it's not. I wouldn't consider that fine. Maybe not the speed limit sign, but at least that that at a minimum I can put on my property in front of my house that says slow down, watch for children. I know.
Yeah.
Can we put something like that just at the entrance so that when people come around that corner and they come into the gates and they're driving through there, they at least have a sign there that says, hey, like I need to slow down, a reminder that they need to slow down.
Yeah, because at further down Conway, there are speeding signs for 25 miles per hour.
Well, I think what he's saying, and I
Or,
understand, like we can't put the speed limit sign, maybe we can't move that until the study is done, because, that's going to skew that study then potentially.
Yeah.
But what I'm offering is, at the entrance to what would be that, Hodges Heights Park, that we at least put something up saying, hey, watch for children here. If there's not a,
Pedestrians, because
if
like I
there's not a
said,
sign
people
that
walk.
identifies it.
People walk there too all the time.
Yeah, I came in there and there was, I drove
going
in there.
around, like I said, that going around that corner is a blind spot.
Yeah, my
for
kids-
sure. You could definitely get hit there.
And I say that,
That
sir-
would be a start. We would appreciate
Well,
that.
Here's the thing. I say that to say not that it would necessarily skew results, or I don't say that to be some sort of a simplistic answer. But the only reason I say that is, certain signs by law have certain requirements under PennDOT guidance. And so I just sitting here today can't say that the watch children sign would
Would
be
be approved.
feasible where we're looking to place it. because
Can we,
of certain sight distance things or slope issues or, all signs have specific requirements under that PennDOT manual. And so we'll certainly take a look at it. I just don't want to give the impression that tomorrow there's going to be signs up where you want them to be, because it might not be permitted.
I don't think PennDOT would have a problem with that.
Well, actually,
They
PennDOT
don't.
is very finicky on what they require
Like
and
you
where they
do.
require it, so I would push back on that a little bit. Unfortunately, I agree with what you're saying, but PennDOT's a different animal.
Put the sign up, blame him.
oh, you can blame me for sure.
Our director is shaking his head yes about
Yeah.
the PennDOT being finicky, so.
I mean,
But we'll look at it. We'll look at it ahead of the traffic study, and we'll.
they would be finicky about us putting a watch for children sign up
They would.
in a park on our property.
Well,
don't
so,
think
okay,
so.
internally, if it were on the park
That's what I'm
property.
talking about. I'm not talking about on the entrance. I said
Okay.
at the where they come off the road at the park. There's a fence on the right side that goes the whole way back. And so what I'm saying is, can we just put a post on our property that says watch for children, so that when people come off that road, they at least are reminded? Because face it, sometimes you're in the zone or you're doing whatever and you're not thinking about it. You see a sign, you go, okay, oh, watch for children. Oh, geez, over on this side, looks like there's a baseball field. I better slow down. Can we just remind people on our own property, hey, so, and that's why I said I can put one on my property at my house in front of my, hey, slow down, watch for children. Why can't we do that on a park, at one of our locations? But I understand on a PennDOT road, no. But that's not what I'm offering. I'm saying when they enter that, and that's a long strip from that first gate to that last gate. That's a pretty long drive. So I just one sign, hey, watch for children, okay. And then that's what I'm saying. Then when our officers are coming by and somebody comes flying in there, they at least have the right to say, hey, you know, I saw you fly in here. There's a sign right there that says watch for kids. What are you doing? What are you thinking? Maybe not write them a ticket, but say, hey, what are you doing? Reminder, there's a sign right there. Slow down.
Understood.
You know what I mean? So that's
Does
all
that
I'm
long
saying.
strip have a posted speed limit?
Well, that's on our park property.
Yeah, well-
So no, I don't see a speed, there was no speed limit there. There's no speed limit sign
Further
back
down
there.
Conway, where
Yeah,
that new
but
But they're talking
development is,
about on the-
Kendall Oaks.
they're
Nothing
talking
on
on
the
the road.
township
Couple-
property.
This is within.
They put a
this is-
couple signs up there
Yeah.
for 25 miles per hour.
Yeah, this is
They,
within.
that's just a new development, basically.
Yeah, because basically that's a,
years.
you know, from those gates of where the park starts to the compost, I mean, there's like a long run along that fence line, but there's no
Is that long
signage
run-
there.
Is that on our property?
I believe so, yeah, that should be our property. It's what would be the backside of the baseball field, right? It's the backside
But
of
that
the,
would only get the trucks that are going into the compost facility.
that's all I'm talking about. Yeah, but that's where the kids are probably playing, right? That's where the issue is, because right there is where the,
That blind corner.
yep, and then
When you're
there's
crossing
no.
over
Yep, so you're
to
coming
go to the
through there.
playground.
Yeah, you're coming through there, and then you have
They
on
be
the left
flying.
side, you've got the pavilion, you know, pretty close to that,
To
to
the
that
compost.
thing. But that's our property. I mean, we could
Right.
even put on the pavilion, you know, watch for children, you know, but on our own pavilion. But no, it should be ours. That should be our property.
So Tim
So-
or Adam, if that's our property, can't we put a speed limit on that, like 15 mile an hour or something like that?
Well, do we?
I mean, didn't we do that a couple of years or so ago in George Park where it was unmarked? People were flying down that long stretch of George Park, and I think we put, well, the speed bumps were always there, but people would accelerate between the speed bumps. I think we put a speed limit sign there because there was never one there before. I think it's 15 mile an hour through the park.
So, sir, what's going on right now with the studies? We've done 2 previous studies there, one which merited a more intense study that is due in I want to say it's May 20th. So as far as posting speed limit signs, that can't be done without a structured study, and then there's certain guidelines we have to go through with the traffic safety folks in PennDOT for posting along roadways. The children at play, we can examine that as far as being posted in the park. I'll get with Public Works, and we'll take a look at whether or not we can throw up a children at play sign until that is completed. I know in the previous studies, there's been suggestions for multiple signage throughout there. Heavy enforcement will have to be done as well, because there is a speeding problem down there. So,
Yeah, I mean, we may not be able to do anything with the speed limit thing. Thank you.
It might.
Sir, but,
The study
yeah.
might warrant.
That might, yeah. But for right now,
Yeah.
you know, just a reminder maybe, you know, in our park, hey, slow down might be, I mean, I think that's at a minimum till the study's completed. So, all right. Thank you, Director.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay. Is there anybody else for public comment?
Aye.
Yes? You come up to the podium and your name and address, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see you standing there. I thought everybody was together. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jackie Broughton, 6640 Jordan Drive. I have a question on what Mr. Gottschall said. And he said that the discussion for the entrance to the park has been tabled. And if that is so, and if the land is so bad, then why are those big trucks going in and out of that entrance and on that land? How can you justify that?
Well, ma'am, I had mentioned that the what's tabled is, I use that term, what was tabled was the discussion of the renovation or redevelopment of the park, not the use of the landfill. That facility, the closed landfill and the compost facility continue to be used now, and we have no plans on ceasing that operation. So what's tabled is merely the park, redevelopment discussion. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I think what she's saying is if the park area, can't be redeveloped. The road going into the compost, does that have issues also like the park does? Because it's connected,
Yes,
am I
they are
right?
connected. I mean, it's
Okay.
part of the park.
Right.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is the subsurface investigation of that area showed that you can't, building a structure, like we would want to build, would not really be feasible without doing extensive, subsurface structural stuff underneath there, like building pylons and doing all kinds of things so that it doesn't sink, right? But, if you're talking about like a road, it's not the truck sitting there for a long period of time. And I'm not an engineer, but my understanding is that that's okay. Having a baseball field there is okay. I mean, knock on wood, we don't have sinkholes there like they deal with out in Palmyra and stuff. But eventually, over time, putting the money into that we would want to put into a park with the things that we would want to put there, paving and all those things, it would just put too much weight on that subsurface, on everything that's under the ground. So I think that's what Brad's saying, is that it was kind of tabled because, a decision needed to be made on kind of what that is. So as far as the road there, my understanding anyway is that somebody driving in and out, are we going to have potholes? Yeah, we're probably going to have potholes there that would need to be fixed. But are we going to have the sinking and all those other things? No. So that's why we came up with, having somebody came up with having, the park kind of down the road, much larger, a place where we can put, all the amenities, all the things that we would want to have at a park. And so I think that was my understanding.
Okay, so I'm going to put Mr. Nold on the spot here, who's our Public Works Director. Have we ever had any issues with the road where the trucks go in and out? Have we had any issues with that sinking at all? Since it is connected to the park itself.
Yeah, we do. We have like frequent issues
just put
there,
more stone down.
which is why it's a surprise that, the complaints are coming on trucks moving fast through there, because it's difficult to drive more than 5 miles an hour in a truck on that road, on that entrance drive.
And it's stone?
No, it's asphalt.
Oh, is it? I
Yeah.
don't remember that. I couldn't remember. Okay.
But there is settlement, just like in the park, on the road itself.
So is that a safety issue?
I mean,
I mean, serious. I'm being serious. If you're telling me that there's sinking in there, is that a safety issue with the trucks going in and out of there?
it's generally being used by our staff who know where, the issues are in the drive. It's a driveway. Let's not call it a road, because it really isn't
Right,
a
it's a
road.
driveway going into the compost.
So the worse the road is, the slower they have to go.
Exactly.
You think?
Yeah.
Have you seen them come in and out?
I have. The
I
trucks.
mean, where they don't know you're there. I mean, to just intermittently come in and sit there and watch those trucks zoom in, all the dust. Judy Banks had spoke to that 3 weeks ago. I don't know if you were here, but I was. And walking along, I move out the way so I don't get hit by the trucks. They could care less that I'm walking along on the road the same as they are.
The
They're
trucks.
not going 5 miles per hour.
The trucks are very loud, and we get a lot of complaints, especially during plowing season. It's not uncommon to get complaints about speeding when, just how loud the trucks are when they move.
No, I'm talking about inside the park and how fast they're going inside the park.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
They're
about.
not moving any snow. They're whatever is in those big trucks that they are transporting as they're coming into the park, they are not doing 5 miles per hour.
I'm saying the engines on the trucks are very loud, and it sounds like they're going a lot faster than what they actually are.
Oh, okay. I'm new here, so you have to let me know, because that is not a true statement, sir.
Okay.
Well, we're going to do a study, right? And this way we don't have to guess and just go by what we're seeing and anything. We're going to get numbers. And
But is that study going to be for that service road, or is it just for Conway?
It will cover that driveway.
Okay. Okay, so we should have the results. Did you say May 20th is when they're due?
I think that's what the director had mentioned. Then like I said, this just because the study's done doesn't mean the remediation efforts occur the next day.
Right.
I review it, Public Works reviews it. There's these studies
Process.
take some time.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Is there a possibility that you would close Hodges Heights Park based on this study from May 20th?
Again, this study is not related to the use of the park, so no. The answer to that is no.
Yeah, it's just for the traffic. It's a traffic study is what it is. So it has a lot of components that go with it. Speed limit, how many cars, are in that area at that, during that whole traffic study. And it doesn't happen in one day. I mean, they're doing Fairmont Drive, and they've had 2 different sets of studies that they're doing, that they have done out there, and both of them were out there for a couple of weeks.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, all righty. Anybody else on Hodges Heights? Okay, ma'am? Just your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is Shelley H. Chavarria. I live at 4921 Harmon Drive.
Harmon, okay.
And I've been there since 1974, except for when I was away at school. Here tonight to discuss the dangerous intersection of Earl and Colonial Road. I don't know if that is part of your studies that you're doing on safety.
It is.
I don't
Didn't I see something on
remember.
that, Brad?
I was going to say, I don't remember seeing Earl and Colonial.
Or is it Colonial and Devonshire?
It's Devonshire, Colonial and Devonshire is
trying to
when we're
think.
looking, the new signalization and all this stuff. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the first time anybody has said anything about Earl and Colonial. You're talking about trying to get out of Earl Drive?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm very glad that I did come tonight to discuss it. Last Monday, my daughter was in a car accident at that intersection. Thankfully, she wasn't hurt. The other person involved was not hurt. 6 years ago, my husband was in an accident. His car was totaled at that intersection. As I said, I've been there since 1974. I know many people in my community have been in accidents at that intersection. I remember the speed limit used to be 45, and it's now lowered to 35. I also am very aware that there's a lot more development in this area and many, many, many more homes and businesses than were there in 1974. I am very concerned about the safety at the intersection, especially after the right turning lane was added onto Colonial Road. It causes a blind spot for people who are on Earl Drive to see the oncoming traffic on Colonial Road, coming from the Colonial Park Mall and heading toward Linglestown Road. I have almost been in several accidents myself at that intersection because of the blind spot that is caused. But thankfully, I was able to react quick enough and realize that there was another car behind the car that is turning that I could not see. Some people just travel too closely to the cars in front of them. I would like to see a study done, and if there's something that could be done in the interim, possibly a speed bump before you get to that intersection. I would like to see something done before our lives are lost.
Okay, Mr. Judge.
It looks like it's on the list, Brad, of studies that are underway.
But it said it was due on February the 26th. Have anybody heard, Director? We have a list of the traffic studies, and Mr. Judge just found it for Earl and Colonial, and it said due date.
The one that you include, Brad, in our packet.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull that up here.
Yeah, it says due date of February 26, 2024. So evidently, there must have been some issues, and they got in touch with the police department.
And it just,
Yeah.
the reason was general, so it may or
It's
may
just
not have
general.
been a specific complaint, but it's
It's on the list of studies.
it's somewhere in the process.
Well, Colonial's a state road. I wonder if that went to PennDOT.
I'll tell. I mean, like I said, I hate to downplay this, but traffic studies for the township are fairly routine. I mean, whenever we get a request, you don't have to come to a board meeting to make that request. You can simply email myself or public safety director, whomever at the township, and we add it to the list and keep rolling on the studies. So, yeah, we already have one here for general purposes, but I'm not sure. We'll take a look as to why that.
And Ms.
request
Lindsay was
made.
right. I mean, that whole roadway is very challenging. We know that, and there have been things done throughout the years at other intersections. But somewhere we did schedule a.
Yeah, I must have missed that one.
On February 26th of 2024, that's passed.
Yeah, it said due date was February 26th. So.
Is that when the
Direct-
study
yeah.
was to be conducted or completed?
Director, do you know, has that study been done? We're just looking at what was in our packet. It said February 26th.
I will look into whether or not it was done. I would agree with you. I'm looking through my notes on assigned studies. It was given a 60-day due date for the study and a 21-day due date, a 21-day date for the traffic counter to provide the data. So I'm sure if I would have known we were going to speak about that tonight, I'd had it for you. But I
never
can't
know.
pull it up on my phone. But
Right,
I'm sure
okay.
it's completed.
And we are dealing with PennDOT too, because Colonial Road is a state,
Exactly.
is a state road.
Certain recommendations can only be made on a state road. I know,
Right.
the crossroad is a different story, but I'll look into that. I wrote a note up, and I'll make sure that I get it over to the manager, and that way you have an answer by next meeting.
Okay. Are you staying for the meeting, ma'am? The whole meeting? Okay. When we're finished, would you give Ms. Shelley your name and either an email or a telephone number? Because if we don't have the information, we have no way of contacting you.
Okay, I signed in. My information's there. And I will stay to the end of the meeting. I'm happy to meet with her. And if you need me to speak with anybody on the state level, I'm very happy to do that as well.
Okay.
I've just seen so many accidents at the intersection since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Okay.
hate to lose lives.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Okay. Is there anybody else under public comment this evening? We're good? Okay. Chairman and board member comments. Board members, do we have any comments?
Just want to know when my road's going to be repaved.
Anybody else? Nope. Okay, I just have a couple things. I wanted to thank Mr. Miller and Mr. Gutschall. The board members this afternoon could not attend, but there was a groundbreaking for F&M Trust on Lingelstown Road, and they attended since we couldn't be there, so thank you. We appreciate that. Also, next week, Mr. Zumas will be chairing the meeting. Supervisor Thompson and myself will be down at Hershey with hopefully some of our staff for the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors conference down there. There'll be close to 4,000 people there that they have close to registering as of today. Let me make sure I got everything else here. Okay. And tomorrow I will be at the State Museum for Local Government Week. A friend of mine from Lancaster that I sit on the state level with will be receiving an award, so I'll be representing Lower Paxton Township tomorrow at Local Government Week at the museum. Anybody else, board members? We're good? Okay. We have a presentation on Pennsylvania Local Government Week, which is this week and next week, April 8th to the 14th. Mr. Gutschall.
Yes, Madam Chairman, members of the board. So as noted, each year 1 week is designated by the Pennsylvania Legislature as Local Government Week, honoring the dedication of Pennsylvania's local government officials and encouraging citizens to learn how local government functions and affects each resident and business in each community. Nearly 166,000 county and local government employees work every single day to provide crucial services to nearly 13 million Pennsylvanians. It is this service that each one of us use and see and feel directly every single day, unlike those other services that are provided by state and federal governments, which obviously sit at a different level. Here in Lower Paxton Township, our 53,000 plus residents are served by approximately 155 full-time and 70 or so part-time and seasonal employees organized into 8 departments. They are finance, administration, parks and recreation, community development, sewer, public safety, public works, and economic development. We have with us, as I mentioned this evening, a number of our department directors who will present us with a brief overview of their respective responsibilities, with external services packaged nicely on the infographic posters hanging on the back wall of this room. Not represented this evening is the Department of Administration, including the Offices of Human Resources, Information Technology, and Facilities and Assets. I'll handle that. This department specifically provides internal services to our organization, including our personnel, facilities, and assets. The general public doesn't necessarily see the day-to-day results of these functions within the Department of Administration as they go, again, to support those functions that are more tangible in nature, which will be presented by these department directors here this evening. On the screen, we just have, you can't really see it, but our organizational chart, which does show those various departments and where they kind of report to and all that fun stuff. And then we will also pull up each of the department posters as they come up to present their piece. So with all that said, why don't we get started here? I want to start with public safety. I'll go down the line here along the wall as I see them. So let's start with the Department of Public Safety. Sir, Director, hello, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. So it's great to be able to give you some just a snapshot of some of the things we're doing in public safety. I'll try and keep it brief. The poster, I think those folks who worked with putting together the poster did an excellent job. It gives you a quick snapshot of what it is that your public safety officials are doing in any given year. I won't regurgitate the information on there, but it is important to say that some of those earlier ones, 28,500 in some calls for service on the police side. We're busy, and nonetheless. As with the fire department, your 3 volunteer fire companies with our career deputy chief has handled in the previous year 1,625 fire calls, and that's a lot of times out the door, a lot of emergencies that we're taking care of. So I'll just highlight those couple points there. As far as the police department operates on just about an $8.2 million budget. The fire department on a $2.4 million budget. That goes from the large portion of the police department as salaries. Fire is largely in capital and operating expenses. Our police department has 60 sworn officers, 8 civilian staff, and 2 county embedded employees, one of which you're going to hear from tonight, Mr. Jared Ross. As I said before, we have a deputy fire chief now, a career deputy fire chief that we've had that's been doing a phenomenal job with the organization of the 3 volunteer fire companies and working on our staffing and responses. As far as the police department's concerned, the structure essentially is that of operations and administration. Under the operations section, we have special operations, criminal investigation, and a host of others. And then our admin section covers the day-to-day paperwork related to our licensure, to our officers' training, and so on. Just a brief snapshot about our departments. In the police department, the mission and vision. So all the members of the Lower Paxton Township Bureau of Police will provide the service to the community through the relentless pursuit of justice. We're doing that through our core values, which is our duty, honor, and integrity. Some of the department functions, and I'm just naming a few to keep it brief with all of you. We have folks, officers that are embedded and trained in so many different areas, in so many different specialties. We have the community engagement team that does a lot of our training and focused enforcement. Traffic safety, which was a big part of our discussion earlier tonight, they are very, very busy with their traffic safety studies, not to mention traffic enforcement and vehicle crash investigations. Within the last year, we sent a traffic safety member to motor carrier enforcement school so they can inspect motor carriers, tractor trailers, and issue citations for any violations. We have several canines. We have an ignitable liquid canine, which is provided to us through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. We have a new, only one in the county, a firearms detection canine and patrol. That is Rex's replacement. Corporal Miller handles him. They're specially trained. He is Six is his name, to train to locate firearms. It doesn't have to be one that was fired. It could be a brand new, never fired firearm. They're trained off of the parts from that particular weapon. And we also have several canine patrol and narcotics as well. We have a auto theft, fully funded auto theft position through the Pennsylvania State Police Pennsylvania State Police and the Auto Theft Insurance Prevention Authority. We have numerous members assigned to the Crisis Response Team, which is the county SWAT team, Mobile Field Force Team, which is basically crowd control if need be, criminal investigations, forensics. We have 5 drones in our department. Those drones are used routinely on our crash investigations. They're even being used in our traffic studies, our SWAT call-outs, you name it. We're utilizing the drones more and more. We have a member tied to the Drug Task Force doing undercover work and ensuring that our citizens are receiving the right attention when those negative illicit drugs come into the township. And as far as how we interact with the various departments within this township, I can say on a routine basis we're operating, speaking to, working alongside members of Public Works. Community Development has been very busy with our Deputy Fire Chief on some recent projects. You name it, the public safety piece touches just about every piece of township departments. I'm very proud of the men and women of the police department, especially the fire department. We've been doing some very good things with our 3 volunteer fire companies and our deputy chief lately. Some very, very impressive recruitment and retention as a result of some of the initiatives that this board has taken a hold of and authorized. So good things are happening on public safety side.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to bring Brett up, Mr. Graham,
Sure.
the Deputy Fire Chief, so we can get some TV time? You just want to say a couple words?
No, I just echo what the director said. What we've been able to accomplish over the last year has been phenomenal. Ran some stats that compared Q1 last year to Q1 this year, and the turnout times, the response times, all those things that have been coupled with ensuring that our fire stations, our staff have been very impressive. These guys are working really hard. I'm proud of them, and we're hopefully making you guys proud and hope you see the difference. So.
Well, and we're proud of the stipend program because that is like all over the state right now, especially out west. They're talking about us, so that's good.
My phone's always ringing.
Good, good. Well,
So,
thank you, Director Kashiba and Deputy Fire Chief Graham. We appreciate it.
Economic development.
Thank you, Supervisors. I don't have a 10-minute speech prepared because I've only been here for 110 days. So my budget is being prepared and will be presented to the Township Manager for review before the next budget cycle begins. We've been doing I've met with over 150 businesses here in the township in this short amount of time. People love being here, working here, living here. So some of the goals that we've asked, do we work with other departments? Well, the answer to that is pretty simple. This is probably one of the best teams I've worked on in my whole career. the leadership of our township manager and assistant township manager, and working with Amanda Zerby and Rachel Scott and Michelle Thompson, and especially Shelley Smith, has made my entrance here very simple. So one of the highlights of this 100 days was last week I got a call from the White House Department of Appropriations that a plan that I've put in place and asked for funding, the director of the U.S. Department of Aging and Disabilities called me and said, this is a game changer. So get your grant in by Friday at 5 o'clock and we'll make this happen.
Wow.
So we're making waves out there. People are hearing about it. I'm getting calls from Portland and Seattle and San Francisco and New York and Detroit and places where people don't want to do business anymore and are looking for a community to call home. And this is home. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, because this is exciting stuff.
And thank you, and welcome to Pennsylvania.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
All right, very good. Thank you, sir. Community development.
Good evening. I am Amanda Zerby. I'm the Director of Community Development, and Community Development consists of 4 divisions: planning, zoning, building, and code enforcement. We have 4 employees in the department: a secretary, a permit technician, a planning and zoning officer who is also the sworn enforcement officer, and I am the director as well as the planning and zoning officer. Our budget for 2024 is right about $1 million with a proposed net of $440,000. The biggest revenue in our department is generated from permit fees, and the largest expenditure is for professional services of our third-party uniform construction code agency. The planning division is responsible for reviewing and overseeing all land development and subdivision plans that are submitted to the township. The review process requires input from all township departments, in addition to reviews conducted by the township engineer for overall compliance. That process generally covers reviews for roadway design, sewer infrastructure, traffic, fire safety, pedestrian connectivity, and compliance for recreational land use. Governing bodies such as the Lower Paxton Township and Dauphin County Planning Commission are required to review a plan prior to the Board of Supervisor action. The zoning division reviews all zoning-related activities to ensure compliance with zoning ordinance. Most residential and commercial improvements are required to secure a zoning permit prior to improvements. The zoning hearing board conducts hearings for applicants seeking any relief from the zoning ordinance. Staff meets on a daily basis with residents that need help understanding the requirements of the ordinance so that they may proceed with improvements to their property. Zoning map and text amendments also come through the department to prepare them for presentation and review to the Planning Commission and this board. The building division works to ensure full compliance with the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code. Lower Paxton Township utilizes a third-party agency for the review and approval of building plans and all related inspections required for any new or existing building and structures. The Code Enforcement Division utilizes the International Property Maintenance Code and several township ordinances to establish the minimum standards for overall maintenance of owner-occupied and rental housing. The goal of this division is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public and to keep the residents of the township from blighted properties that negatively affect their property values. The most common complaints received in this division are high grass, unlicensed and inoperative vehicles, poorly maintained structures. The division works on a complaint-driven basis, so if a resident has a property maintenance complaint, we ask that they do contact the township. Community development interacts with every department of the township as our ordinances are interconnected with all other departments. All meetings of our Planning Commission, Zoning Hearing Board, Shade Tree Commission, and Historical Commission are open to the public, and we welcome the public involvement. In looking at our department as a whole, the divisions within community development work together to process development permits, ensure that new construction is an asset to the surroundings, and ensure the safety and maintenance of buildings, property, and neighborhoods through the enforcement of the township ordinances.
Okay, thank you. You definitely have a very busy department, Amanda. Appreciate it.
Very cool. Thank you, ma'am. Next up is Parks and Recreation. Unfortunately, Director Rachel Scott is sick this evening and unable to. Yep.
Ms. Zerby, so,
Pam, put your thing down.
sorry. With regards to zoning, what's the township's position on the trailer homes over on Count Street?
In as far as what? They're permitted use. They're pre-existing non-conforming use. They're no longer, a mobile home park would not be permitted under today's ordinance, but it was permitted under the previous ordinance.
So it was grandfathered in?
It's called a pre-existing non-conforming use, yes.
Okay. Same as the ones up in the Blues?
I'm not familiar with the mobile home park in the Blues.
In the Blues. There's a few up there, and it's more sporadic. Those over on Count Street are a little more concentrated.
Well, there's a difference between a mobile home and a manufactured home. So there are some manufactured homes scattered throughout the Blues, but there's a mobile home park on Count Street and one off of Marblehead.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Parks and Rec. Yeah, unfortunately, Director Scott is sick this evening, so I'm going to have to fill in here, so bear with me. I don't deliver it as nearly as exciting as Rachel would, but nonetheless, Parks and Rec is a very exciting department. The department is supported by a budget of $1.1 million and staffed by an organization of 5 full-time employees, including, of course, Director Scott, and nearly 70 seasonal employees. The department provides staff support to the Parks and Recreation Board, the Arts Council, and the Greenway Committee. 3 main functional areas exist within the department, including clerical, programming, and special events. Some of the major activities within these functions some of the major activities within these functions are parks and pavilion reservations, a summer playground program, the summer basketball program, winter and summer volleyball programs, a bus trips program, and some major events including Kite Festival, Summer Concert Series, Fall Fest, and the annual Christmas celebration. Parks and Rec has historically been quite busy. A lot of municipalities across the Commonwealth don't have such a robust Parks and Rec department from a programmatic sense. A lot of municipalities have many beautiful parks, as does Lower Paxton, but from a strictly programmatic sense, where we're providing all these major programs that draw hundreds and across the year thousands of youth and adult participants, we are a real leader in that space, and so they do a great job and on pretty limited staff and budget. So they do a great job. Any questions I can help answer to that? Any of that?
And if you see Rachel Tower, the board thanks her for leading in the master plan of putting close to a little over $5 million into our parks in the past couple of years and the next couple of years. So we appreciate everything that she's doing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Great.
Great. Next up, we have sewer.
How exciting, right, Mr. Weaver?
Oh, yes. Well, I can't do a public presentation without our motto, when you flush, think of us, because that's our motto. Well, board members, just for the public, my name's Bill Weaver. I'm the Sewer Department Director, and I'm also the Authority Liaison, and we're grateful to Michelle for doing this poster for us. So the Authority has a sanitary sewer budget for sanitary sewer for $18.4 million. In revenues, 19.5 in expenses. Capital improvements is 12.9 million, and we are in what's called a satellite collection system because we don't have a treatment plant. So the treatment is provided by Swadera Township and by CRW, which is an acronym for Capital Regional Water, which is in the city of Harrisburg. So some of the capital improvement funds are used for the treatment plant improvements. The stormwater system has a fund of $3.5 million for revenues and $3.3 for expenses, and a capital budget of $6.4. The authority took over the storm sewers in 2019 and started a stormwater fee shortly thereafter. And in the poster, you can see that the sewer department operates and maintains the stormwater system and the sewer system. The stormwater system is maintained in conjunction with the Public Works Department. We have 30 sewer employees that maintain the 4 pump stations and the 280 miles of sewer. And Public Works assists us with the 150 miles of storm sewer and 9,300 stormwater inlets. On top of that, the main function of our department right now for the last 20 years and for the next 30 years is the sewer department is also responsible for implementing the 30-year long-term mini basin project. We were recognized by DEP and EPA as the first township in the United States to do a total sewer replacement project, including private sewers, as part of our corrective action plan. That's a $183 million project, and we've spent $131 million to date. The side benefit of this is we've paved 52 miles of township streets, and we've also replaced 12,000 private sewers at no cost to the residents. On a typical day, you'll see sewer department employees out in the field flushing sewer lines, TV and sewer lines. The 811 call before you dig, we do thousands of calls for that a year for marking locations of storm and sanitary sewer for the One Call Act. And then under the stormwater system, we share responsibility with Public Works, and we work with Tim every day in the operation and maintenance of that. And as part of that project, the major goal is, again, DEP regulations requires that we have an MS4 permit. That permit is a 5-year permit. And you can see on our poster there, the cost associated with that program is about $7.5 million a year and $12.7 million in capital. The good news there is, as part of that permit, we did partner with Susquehanna Township and CRW. We had a secondary partnership with PennDOT, which allowed us to utilize federal funds as part of their MS4, since they're in our impervious surface area. So we had significant savings as part of that PennDOT partnership and with CRW and Susquehanna. And we have 1.7 million pounds of sediment to remove, and we are on track to remove it by our deadline of July of 2025, is which our 5-year cycle expires. And then you can see the picture to the right. As part of the savings, we utilized some of that money then to do storm sewer replacements. There was not much work done in the storm sewers here for the last 50 years. We have quite a lot of work to catch up on. So we started a 5-man crew to save money, and we've realized significant savings when compared to bid costs using our own 5-man crew to replace storm sewers. So we're currently working in mini basin projects as part of this 30-year total sewer replacement mini basin program. So you'll see our crew out doing storm sewers in that area, and also wherever Public Works finds failing storm sewers, we're doing work there as well. They also work on failed sewer, sanitary sewers. So the benefit of the crew and the stormwater fund and the sewer fund is you can exchange these crews and employees back and forth in between these various operations of the sewer, sanitary sewer or the storm sewer. And as far as working with all the other departments, we work every day, of course, with Public Works and the maintenance of the storm sewers. We work with Amanda and the community development and approval of all subdivision plans, issuance of sewer permits and stormwater permits. And then Adam and public safety have been crucial in this major corrective action plan with road closures, public safety issues. And we've worked with the communications manager and Michelle as well for getting the message out to the public through Facebook and the webpage on updates on how these construction projects are progressing throughout the township. And our GIS technician has done a great job too with doing story mapping our GIS department was actually recognized by Esri, which is the provider for most GIS systems. So overall, we're really pleased with how the program has gone for the sewer and the corrective action plan. We're on target to comply by 2033, and MS4 is scheduled to be done on schedule by July 2025.
Great. And your department's very busy also.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Mr. Weaver, if you wouldn't mind, for all the residents that are at home enjoying the meeting and eating their popcorn, could you explain briefly what an unfunded mandate is?
Oh, well, sure. Well, the Chesapeake Bay has a EPA and DEP requirement to improve the bay, and there's no federal or state funding to improve that, so that gets passed on to the customers through a stormwater fee. That's why the township supervisors decided to do authority-owned system with a fee, but we are fortunate to get some grants and partnerships with PennDOT, so there are some savings, but yeah, that is correct. It's an unfunded mandate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Appreciate it.
All right, next up, Public Works.
Good evening. Again, Tim Knoll, Public Works Director. I just want to take a moment here and echo what others have said, thanking Michelle, Alex, and other staff that worked hard here to put these posters together. They're really great to explain exactly what we do. So with a total budget of nearly $5 million, the Public Works Department is made up of 34 employees organized into two divisions. We have the Transportation Division and the Public Facilities Division. So for members in the audience, if you live on a public street in Lower Paxton Township, or you have visited one of our 16 parks, or you have driven through a signalized intersection in the township, which almost everybody did that to get here tonight, or you visited our compost facility, then you have received service from the Public Works Department. Our main function is to maintain all township assets, including the road system, parks, signalized intersections, fleet, public buildings, and the compost facility. We're continuously evaluating new technologies to improve public access to our core services. An example of this is this past year when we created a GIS leafing application that made it easier to schedule a curbside leaf pickup than it is to place an order for a pizza. We received over 1,500 requests in this season, so the application now serves as a template for future plans to streamline the process for residents to use to communicate service needs with our department. We have a small but effective planning team in the department, including the road technician, our GIS manager, the township engineer, and myself. The planning team is responsible for developing and prioritizing paving projects as well as transportation safety improvement projects. We mesh with essentially every department, assisting them in delivering their core services. In addition to servicing all the fleet in the township's fleet, we maintain the parks for Parks and Rec. We are heavily involved in implementing traffic safety studies with Public Safety Department. We perform restoration work, as Bill said, for the sewer department's, some of the sewer department's capital improvement projects. We provide maps and road closures and other information for the communication manager, and we're extra boots on the ground for code enforcement. So Public Works provides services to every resident in this township. The work largely goes unnoticed, but it would surely be one of the first services residents noticed if it was done inconsistently or not at all.
Hey,
thank you. Tim heard a lot of good feedback on the leaf collection this year.
Yeah, we had good feedback on it, and look forward to making some adjustments to it and using it.
And
here in the
residents could call as many times as what they wanted if they had piles of leaves.
future. Yeah. Yep.
But you also did go out and clean the streets? Or did you depend on everything on the residents calling for the leaf collection?
So the only change was we've always had 4 quadrants throughout the township. We broke it up into quadrants and had a crew. As long as equipment didn't break down, we had a crew in each quadrant. The only difference this year is we had a 5th crew that was kind of the rover crew to address the items that came in on the leafing app.
Okay, good.
Could I just double check on the use of salt? You have, yes, 2,226 tons of salt for the months of January, February, and March?
Yes, it was not a good winter for us.
It was an expensive winter.
Was. We're still under budget. We're about 165,000 expended. So as long as October, November, December aren't too rough, we have 220 budgeted each year, 220,000 for road salt.
Tim, could you explain briefly to all those same people that are interested in watching the difference between the number of state roads that we have and the number of township roads that we have, and the difference in how maintenance is performed as far as responsibility is concerned?
So we have the number here of township roads. This is 215 centerline miles. Off the top of my head, I don't have the figure for state roads. I believe it's around 40 miles of state roads.
It's like 6, 7 roads.
Yeah, I think a lot of residents don't realize that, like Colonial Road, Nye Road, Locust Lane, Lingelstown, that they're all state road, Union Deposit, they're all state roads, and some of those roads we plow and salt, because if we wouldn't, as the state would say, we'll get to them when we can get to them.
Yeah, so we plow Locust Lane. We plow essentially all the state routes except for Lingelstown Road and
Route 22.
Yeah.
And portions of Union Deposit. So any other state road we are involved, and that salt figure includes the salt used on the state highways.
Do we get reimbursed for salting the state roads?
Not
We
by
do.
much.
It is a figure that's
It's minimal.
typically
About
not enough.
35,000 maybe?
Not enough to cover the
Yeah.
expense typically.
Basically goodwill.
Yeah, and like I said, if we don't plow them, then they'll get to them when they want to, which some of those, like Locust Lane and Union Deposit, and you do that, Arlington, Locust Lane, Rediford, Union Deposit, that's a emergency route to the hospital, so we have to keep that cleaned.
Yeah, it's essentially level of service. We want to, I'm assuming that was what the board decided at that time to take on that expense, is to provide that higher level of service.
Well, we want to thank you and your staff for all that you did, for us this winter. We really appreciate it because it's long hours.
Sure.
Long hours. And you do feed them, right?
We do. We try to.
We want to make sure that they're fed. Okay. Is there any other questions from the board for Tim? Public?
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, great. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
And last but not least, the guy who lets all this happen, Money Man Sam, Finance Director, and the Assistant Township Manager.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Sam Miller, Assistant Township Manager, Finance Director. I don't have one of these phenomenal bingo cards here, but that still doesn't, take away the importance of what we do and our functions. Within finance, we have two distinct divisions that work for us: administrative finance and then utilities. In administrative finance, I am one of 4 full-time staff members in that group. We're really, we have a number of goals of which the department has in relation to managing the finance of the township. Overall, the township and authority budgets that we manage are about $88 million in total, and then we also oversee the pension and related trust funds that we have, which adds another $64 million to that total as well. In utilities, there are 5 full-time staff members, and there is 1 temporary staff member that's in evaluation. That group is really focused on addressing the collections, revenue, and process for over $28.8 million in customer service charges tied with sewer, stormwater, and solid waste and recycling, a new addition for us here in the mid-year 2023. Just under 27,000 sewer stormwater customers and just about 16,500 in refuse specifically. So in relation to the administrative side of the operation, we handle and oversee the regular payroll to ensure all staff are paid and receive the benefits they are entitled to. Obviously, all the budgetary management process, all the ledger reporting and financial reporting for the board and constituents, and as well as fiscal and risk management services. So all of our liquid cash funds, our cash flow plannings, our debt and loan models, and so forth, as well as our risk pieces, which focus on the insurance to ensure we have adequate insurance and that we're managing those relationships and risks appropriately. Ultimately, within the utilities group, in addition to that, this group, handles the direct customer service linkage with these services. Their primary goal is to work with our constituents to ensure that they're receiving adequate service, that they're addressing collection, billing problems, and payment solutions, as well as ensure that we're turning those monies over so we can continue to invest in our systems and everyone's held to that same standard of expectation on payments. As mentioned with some of our major goals, we look to maximize a return on idle funds. We have reserve requirements that we have as a township, and we want to make sure that we're making the most out of those monies that we can and have them available to satisfy our obligations and keep us from having any short or long-term finance needs outside of capital planning. We serve as due diligent oversight for township trust funds, our pension funds, and our OPEB funds for our retirees, as well as the volunteer fire departments. And then ultimately, we look for ways that we can automate and make things more efficient and effective within the processes that we perform. And that relates, in the end, to transparency to not only the board but constituents. So we're very key on providing financial information to the board as well as our citizens through the website, through presentations in a public setting, to make sure that this is an open book. You have every right to understand how every dollar of your taxes and fees are being spent. Really through the goals and objectives and the guidance of the board, we then establish and oversee the annual operating and capital plan process for the township, which covers all of our physical departments that are built to minimize the need to have to increase fees or taxation outside of generalized plans or dedicated needs. And again, focus on debt service as it relates to capital investment rather than operating needs to fit the bottom line. Administratively, we really work with everybody through the functions of accounting and budgetary management. Contrary to popular belief, we don't like to say no. We say no because that's really what we do. We have the unique requirement for us to look always beyond a department, a request, at the bigger picture. So we say no to ourselves a lot as well, so everyone can feel comfortable about that. But ultimately, everything is a bigger picture ideal as far as how this relates to the goals and objectives of the board as how we relate to the citizenry. So sometimes tough decisions have to be made in the process. Other times we look at opportunities as well as the old adage is spend money to make money. But ultimately, from our perspective, it's investing in what we do, whether it be technology or people, to do our jobs better. And that ends up giving money back to the citizens and keeping fees and taxation at a consistent and flat level as we progress. And then ultimately within the utilities group, as mentioned, their primary relationship is with the direct customer, but there is a strong relationship between them and community development in relation to account and property management as it takes to complete and perform their services. So with that, I'm glad to conclude our group here today, but I'll take any questions the board would have about our finance department.
Board have any questions? No? And thank you, Sam, for
Thanks,
all
Sam.
you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay.
Members of the board, I just, before any staff member leaves, would the board like to take a picture with all of our staff? And I think Mr. Jack back there is ready to roll on he's ready to, all right. Want some front?
Yeah, it'll do that.
Come closer, we don't mind.
Guys hold this one. You know what, we haven't done, so those are the only ones, the extra ones here out. Yeah, we don't have the other ones. Yeah, fortunately, to off the wall, which is wrong.
Can you get us, or do we need to
Let me see here.
squeeze a little bit?
Yeah, let's go in just a little bit. If we could do a little bit more. All right, that looks good. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody. You all might have seen, we're putting up every day a different highlight.
All right. Yeah, if I can just say something real quick before the staff leaves, because we know it's. I just want to say something very quickly, but we never get to see everybody in the room like this. So I do want to say, thank you to each and every one of you. I mean, our staff is, second to none. But to sit here with all the department heads, where each one of you is really, respectively, a leader in your own field, is just, it's a true honor for me, honestly, to sit here through this and see what you do every day, and the achievements, and the foresight and vision that you guys have for where we are and where we will be. So thanks to each and every one of you and your staff for really, putting everything into your jobs and into this township. So thanks.
Yes.
We're lucky.
Yeah.
We're
We're
very
very
lucky.
fortunate. As,
How they
as-
want to raise.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
Paul, as,
Yeah.
as Paul said, we don't get to see you, so thank you so much from the board. We really appreciate it. And Mr. Schertzer, could you come up to the podium so we can introduce you? Okay? This is Jack Schertzer, and he is our communications manager, and we really thank you for all you do. He does all of our social media, Facebook, website, Instagram. Am I missing something?
No, and also, highlight, invite the media to.
I was going to say the press, all the press conferences, press releases, so.
To pretty much let the public know about the, the quality services that the township provides. And this week on our Facebook site as well as on Twitter, every day we're highlighting a different department, putting up these same posters that you've seen here tonight. So if folks want to get a closer look at them, they can go to our Paxton Facebook site and see them.
Thank you. We appreciate all your connections that you have, too. We really appreciate it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the introduction of Mr. Jared Ross, Lower Paxton Township Police Bureau Mental Health Co-Responder. Director Kashiba?
Yes, good evening again. Wanted to introduce our most recent selection for our mental health co-responder, a civilian mental health co-responder. Jared Ross participated in a panel of several individuals to put in for the job when our previous co-responder went on to other employment. So we're happy to have him on board. I'll let him talk a little bit about himself, and then with fingers crossed, we'll do well with our PCCD grant, and I'll have someone else maybe by the end of the year to introduce as our second co-responder. And for the public out there, our mental health co-responders through the county started back in early 2020, and those numbers of the use of these individuals helping us with our mental health crisis that is just, it's enormous across all of Dauphin County, and we're probably, based on the recent stats that I've seen, the busiest township, even busier than the city of Harrisburg. As far as those type of calls. So these individuals are riding along with our officers on a daily basis and handling all types of calls and channeling of services for these folks, and taking a lot of weight off of the routine patrol officer by doing so. They're trained. Jared's going to get a lot of training in de-escalation and crisis management. So we're very happy to have him here, Jared.
Good.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Once again, Jared Ross, the new co-responder for Lower Paxton. A little about myself. I have my bachelor's in science and criminal justice, minor in psychology. I'm from Pittsburgh. I went to a smaller school, Point Park University out there. I worked a little bit in security and safety out at a mental hospital out there. And then moved out here shortly after to work at Harrisburg Hospital in the emergency department as a behavioral health specialist. So I was there for about 2.5 years. So some of my experience with this job will be pulled from there, dealing with a lot of the kinds of patients and stuff that I'll be dealing with around here.
Good. Well, welcome to the Lower Paxton Township family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jared.
Yeah, welcome.
Yep, glad to have you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is application for payment number 7 from Rogel Inc. for the Brightbill Park Playground Project. I understand Mr. Gutschall will be doing this.
Yes, ma'am. Members of the board, again, this is application for payment number 7 for the Brightbill Park Playground Project. This application for payment is in the amount of $112,017.78, and it is to the contractor Rogel Incorporated, and it has been inspected and approved by our consultant as well as the engineer, and staff at this point recommends the board's adoption of this payment application.
Is this the last one or not?
There will be several. There will be more after this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Do I have any comments, any questions from the board? Any from the public? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the application for payment number 7?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board, any announcements? Okay. Before the meeting tonight, the board did meet in executive session, and after the meeting, we will be meeting again in executive session. We will be here next week in this room for our business meeting at 7 o'clock. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion adjourned. Thank you all for coming.